youthful years in your first start in education. But I think we got a couple of questions. Go ahead.
Just press it once and there you go. Press it. Press
Just
the
press it.
comment. There
There
you
you
go.
go.
There you go.
What is the first law that you helped make?
Wow, the first law, man, that's. I worked in the legislature for such a long time. Before I became a member, I was I wrote for the members of the legislature for 11 years. So I cannot take credit for anything that became law during those years that I worked as an employee of the bureau because my name was never on the legislation. But a lot of the legislations when I came in that were very helpful to this in my opinion that we tried to present that never became law. The one that's the most important thing to me was actually the retirement was trying to take the monies from the casino so that it can directly be to address the retiree situation so that we can remove that out of our headache and move on to addressing the public school system, public safety, fire. But what became law for me that are most important are the local laws, the ones that we actually gave money to schools, to non-governmental programs, to government agencies, to sports stuff. That for me are very important, and I couldn't have done any of those legislation without the members that are standing before you as well. Thank you. That's a very good question.
Is your job easy or hard?
That's a very good question. It's easy because of you guys. We look to you guys to see how we can best come up with ideas to make it better for you guys. It makes it very difficult because of the generation gap. For us that are in office right now, we're stuck between two generations. A generation that's very old school that makes us that punish us when we were growing up, and then a generation that have all the safeguards in regards to punishment and technology. That's what makes it very difficult. And we live in such a unique part of the world that everything that's decided in the US or in Japan and Korea really affects us. What we make, the decisions we make here does affect us, but the bigger impact is the decisions that are made outside of us. So we have to adapt to the changes that they make. That's what makes it more difficult for us. But it's easy and it's fun is because of the younger people that push gives us that drive to be better representatives for you guys. Uh, the one question here, and then was it you? Go ahead. You got it. There you go.
Um, what do you think is the best part about your job?
The best part about our job, this actually is for me personally. This is the best part. It's just like when we do public debates. I think meeting the younger generation and your questions actually is the best part because it's open-ended questions. Most of the stuff that we get into are kind of scripted questions. They're more narrowed into specific things. I like the fact that when we deal with students that the questions are so broad because your minds are so open. You guys see things differently, and that makes it fun for me because those questions can actually bring up the better ideas to better serve your generation so that it can move forward. Go ahead, and then the little girl with the ears. What was my favorite law? That was growing up. I think for some of us, our favorite law was breaking the laws of the house because we grew up in a very disciplinary time. We didn't. I think mom's laws are our favorite laws because there's always a benefit to it at the end. You follow mom's laws, and there's a price at the end, right? If you go home and you do your chores, there's a price for you. They'll take you to McDonald's, they'll go take you to the beach or stuff like that. I think that's more important, and that should be your favorite as a child, because when you get older, there's this thing called bills, and you're gonna have to start paying those things, and it's challenging. So mom's laws are very important to follow, and they should be the best because they're gonna build you to become the person that you will be when you get older. Go ahead.
How many years you're working in here?
How many years have I been working here as a
Yes.
member with the speaker and Representative Yuma, Representative Yanktamai? I've been working after this term, it'd be 10 years. But before I worked as a member, I actually worked for the Legislative Bureau for 11 years. So after this term, I've been in this building for 21 years. Yeah, I know I'm getting old, right? Go ahead.
When you were small, what age you were?
When I was small, I think for some members here in the legislature, we're still small. We haven't grown. So you'll see members, sometimes you'll be walking around, you think there'll be a student, but they're actually members of the legislature. So they haven't grown up yet. They gotten older, but they haven't grown up. I was young. Go ahead.
If somebody if somebody if somebody wants to quit their job, can they quit it or they still need to work?
You're talking about here in the legislature? That's their own personal choice. They can resign from their job, but sometimes when when you're in this position, the people gave you the job. The application that we turn in is an application to the people, like your parents, your grandparents, great grandparents are the ones that put us in these seats. So in my personal opinion, if I was gonna leave this job, I think I'd be uh, I'd be misrepresenting the people. If the people decide not to vote me into office, and I'm sure that the speaker and the other members share the same thoughts, is that that's when we shouldn't be in this job anymore, because the people have decided that we don't represent them well enough to be sitting in this seat. But to choose just to leave the job, there's a lot of reasons, right? There's family emergencies that you have to take care of, and you just have to leave the island. Those are certain things, but it takes a lot to get into this position, because it's not a position that you earn on your own by your application process, your educational background, your work experience. It's the people that put you in this position. So you owe it to them to serve them to the best of your ability every time and every day. Very, very good question. You guys wanna go ahead. Any other that hasn't gone? Have you gone? Okay. Go ahead. He's got a question. Okay.
Do she work together?
I'm sorry?
Do she work together?
Oh, do we work together? Do we work? Yes, we do. We work together on the issues. Sometimes we don't agree on an issue, so we debate. We talk amongst each other until we come to a common ground. And if we still don't agree, it comes down to a vote, and the majority vote always wins, and we move forward from there. Uh, Question? Go ahead. If everybody quits, do they change that? Oh my God. Uh, Hopefully it's not during the budget process. But if everybody quits, wow, man, you've been watching Designated Survivor, huh? But if everybody quits, I think it's an injustice to the people. We were put in this position to serve the people, and if we're just gonna walk out and quit, it's not fair. It's not fair to you guys, most especially the voiceless ones, which are you guys, the ones that are not able to vote. It's not fair to you guys. I don't, and I hope we never get to see that in our lifetime or ever in anybody else's lifetime, because it will put a halt to the functions of the government. We don't want to do that. The government's job is to provide services, and services come in different ways. And the plans and ideas that are brought out of this office, it's not just the laws. We got to remember that there's a lot of monies that needs to be spread out to the schools, to the other government agencies, the public safety, the hospital. And if this body just ups and leaves, man, it's catastrophic. I don't want to ever see that. That's like your teacher walk into your class and just decides not to teach you guys and just walks out. And you guys are trying to talk among yourself, trying to see what the lesson plan is today. It's not fair to you guys. And I hope that we don't ever get to that point where we're going to leave you guys hanging. First question.
How many years of school have you gone through?
Of school? Shoot. Well, I went through obviously kindergarten and the basic elementary, junior high, high school. And then I went to 4 years of college. And I believe the speaker did the same. Uh, Representative Yumo did the same. Representative Yanktamai did the same. Actually, Representative Yanktamai used to be my elementary teacher. For those who don't know, she was my fifth grade teacher at Garapan Elementary School. Okay, go ahead. She has a question. Go ahead. Any questions? Okay. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Which place you like when you were small?
Which place I like when I was small? I don't think for us we didn't have much. We had the beach. On our work, oh, I think the best thing as a kid growing up, working wise, right? We only did happy labor with prizes at the end, right? You get candy or chips. That was our time. I don't know, maybe yard work because the elders were around and you get to spend time with them, and that's what you guys should do. You should spend as much time with your elders as you can, as much as possible. Back here. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
What laws do you guys do?
What laws? Well, with the House of Representatives, we can introduce just about any legislation, from monies to any types of laws that affect the cinema. In the Senate, what they can do that we cannot do is they confirm governors' appointees. So, like the commissioner of DPS is appointed by the governor. It has to go through the Senate and they do a hearing for its confirmation process. That's the only difference. Other than that, it's pretty wide open, and it's laws that hopefully affects your generation to be able to be successful in the future. Uh, this one, go ahead. Go ahead. Who hasn't asked a question? So we. Go- Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
How often are representatives elected?
How often are representatives elected? So for the House of Representatives, we were up for re-election every 2 years. So we just had an election last year in 2022. So our next election would be in 2024. For the Senate, they have in 2022 there's two seats for each island. So two seats for Saipan, two seats for Tinian, two seats for Rhoda. In 2024, there's only going to be one seat each. They do a rotation in the Senate because of staggered terms, because it's equal representation in the Senate. In the House, everybody's represented by the population of the precinct. So in our case, where all your elementary schools at, in precinct 3 there's 6 seats. So six of us are going to be, or we're going to have to seek re-election. So there's going to be 6 seats again up for grabs in 2024. Go ahead.
What is the rule for a meeting?
For what?
For a meeting.
For a meeting? Okay, so have you guys ever heard of the Open Government Act? So the Open Government Act makes sure that any public meetings, like this one's not a public meeting. This is a scheduled field trip from Holly Elementary School to the legislative branch, so we can kind of have a conversation. So for a meeting, the speaker will call for a session. For example, he has to he wants a session on Sunday. He has to make sure that it's 72 hours at the very least from the time that he signs off on a session before the session happens. So if it's 11 o'clock on Sunday, he has to make sure that the notification goes out before 11 o'clock so that the general public knows that there's going to be a meeting happening. Okay, go ahead.
How long when you were working?
How long have I been working here? Uh, it'll be 10 years after this term. The speaker would be 15 years after this term. Representative Yuma would be 10 years after this term. And Representative Yanktamai will be 4 years after this term. Go ahead. You after, okay?
How many rule?
How many rules? Did I get that right? How many laws in the Sinamai? There's a lot. Uh, there's there's a lot of laws in the Sinamai, but there's also laws after we became a Sinamai that are just fixing laws. So they're still counted as laws, but all they're doing is making previous laws better or stronger. So I can't give you a number. I want to say probably a couple thousand laws. We shouldn't have that much, but that. Okay, can you get you with the mask? Yes, and then you after. The main focus of the legislative branch will always be the budget, first and foremost, because without the budget, the government will go on a shutdown. Without the budget, PSS, for example, wouldn't get additional funds. They'll get their money, but we don't have a ceiling, so PSS will never know how much it's really getting. So the budget is always going to be the most important thing. If we don't act on the budget, it's going to be very difficult for anything else to happen. And if we close the government, the businesses are going to be affected. We're not going to get collections. Our money's going to drop, and it's going to get really bad. We'll get to you, and then you after. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Why did you pick this job?
Why did I pick this job? Uh, I don't know. Maybe it was more to be able to give back to the community that gave a lot to us. When we were growing up, our parents, grandparents, uncles, and aunties back then were the population. So they worked hard to become a member of the American family. So with all that hard work, we want to give back to not just them, but also to you guys, the next generation that's going to be looking forward to hopefully taking these positions and providing for those after you guys. That's my reason for doing this. Him and then you, okay? Okay. How many what? How many friends or crimes that happen here in this building? Oh, not that I don't think there's been any crimes that happened in this building that I can remember. I know I don't know if you guys were old enough to remember the shooting that happened a couple of years back, but that was the only time I remember getting locked into this building. Other than that, there's never been a crime in this building. Can you go with her, her, and then you, her. Okay.
How much weekend when how much weekend when you work and how long you spend in the whole year?
How many weekends do we work, and how long do we spend here? So with this job, it's not the job's not only in the building. We also do work outside of the building. So what people would say like a regular job, like you go to school from Monday through Friday, right? Sometimes even when we go to the stores, we're working because people have questions and they have concerns. So we have to answer those questions and concerns. We have to address them. So our work really never ends, but it's also it's also satisfying to be able to give answers that can ease the people's minds. Can we go back up here first? Go ahead. Do you guys have questions?
What is your favorite thing for your job?
My favorite thing, I think it's this. A lot of the like meeting the kids because, like I said earlier, right? When you guys ask questions, it's so open. It's open-minded questions, and that's what makes it so fun. Because from those open-minded questions, you can produce results and come to a certain sort of conclusion of what the thought process of this generation that we can assist through legislation. Any questions? Anybody that hasn't gone yet? Do you guys have one? Who hasn't gone yet? I think I think she hasn't gone. Go ahead. Yeah, you haven't gone yet, right? Is creating laws difficult? It depends because sometimes laws that are very simple are very difficult because there's multiple personalities with different passions. But then there's also laws that we assume would be very difficult are actually very simple because ideas are the same. So it depends. The most difficult one for sure is the most important one, which is the budget, because it's money to be distributed. It's like you at home and you and your brother or your sister clean up the yard, right? And your parents gives you $2 and gives him $5. You don't believe it's fair, right? Because you guys did the same job. So those are the difficult parts of this. But other than that, it's compromise and a lot of open mindedness and talking that makes it easy. Uh, who hasn't asked?
Why do we make laws?
Why do we make laws? That was asked. It's important. There's going to be structure in the community because, like what speaker said to the previous group, is what if somebody goes right into your house and starts stealing stuff and walking out? You can't do anything. Your parents can't do anything. You can't even call the police because there's no laws. So those are the reasons why we have laws. So there's some sort of structure in our community and safety. Yeah, yeah. And the school law is not even from the CNMI. The school law is a federal law. So if you don't go to school, they contact your parents, and your parents can actually go to jail for you not going to school. Anybody that hasn't gone yet? Go ahead. You haven't gone yet? No. Have you gone yet? Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. Oh man, for me, I was 30, 35. For the speaker, I think it was 26. Speak 26. For Congressman Yumo, you're 35 also. Yeah, 21. Late 30s, and for Rep Yang Tamay, in her 40s. Yeah, go ahead. The legislature have two houses. So before we became a commonwealth, a guy by the name of what's his name? Manglonia? Benjamin Manglonia. He's from the island of Rhoda. He used to be the lieutenant governor of the Sinai. He was the third lieutenant governor of the Sinai and was also mayor of Rhoda, was a senator, but he also served during they called it the trust territory government. So when they were negotiating the covenant to become a commonwealth, he actually had the foresight that if we became a bicameral legislature, that Rhoda and Tinian will also be equally represented. Because if we had a unicameral legislature like Guam has, of course, Saipan's always going to have the majority. They might probably have every member of that body of the legislature be from Saipan because they have the population here in Saipan to outvote Rhoda and Tinian. So he actually brought that up during the negotiations to make sure that Rhoda and Tinian are not left out, and they were a part of this whole process and equally represented in the Senate. So there's three members in the Senate from Saipan, Rhoda, and Tinian. So there's nine members in the Senate side. In the House side, there's 18 members from Saipan, one from Rhoda, and one from Tinian. So that guy was a genius. He knew what he was thinking forward. Can I go ahead? Nobody? Go ahead.
How old are you when you're starting working here?
When I started working here in this building, I was 20 something. I was 22 when I started, 23 when I started working in this building. But as a member, I was 35. Go ahead.
How long when you work, and after that when you were a child?
How long did I work when I was a child? And when we were kids, it was called happy labor. We had to do our chores no matter what. We didn't have to. We had no choice. Back then, their life was a little bit different than in you guys' time. And this day and age, there's this thing called DYS that actually gives kids more rights. In our time, we didn't have DYS, right? You can ask your teachers. We didn't have DYS in our time. But you had to do work. Here, we do work every day, but the best work's obviously with dealing with you guys. You got a question?
Anyone else have a question that has not gone yet? Come on, guys. Remember, this is the legislative branch. Ask questions related to the legislative branch.
Go ahead.
What was hard? Yeah.
The hardest part of our job. The hardest part is also, I think, the drive. It's to satisfy every single constituent in the cinema, not just the ones that vote, well, most especially not just the ones that voted for us or the ones that didn't vote for us. It's the ones that cannot vote for us. It's to make sure that your generation is the one that's satisfied because it's your generation is the one that's going to inherit the decisions that we make today. That I think is the hardest but the most enjoyable part of it. Anyone that hasn't gone yet? Go ahead.
What is your favorite part of your job?
I think this is a lot of for me, a lot of this is a favorite part of the job because like I said, when you guys ask questions, it's so broad and open that it also triggers ideas from our end to be able to help move forward with your generation. Who hasn't gone yet? Okay, go ahead.
What is the most important part of your job?
Thank you for that question. The most important part of our job, again, is to make sure we put laws into place. Again, we always bring up the budget. So that's the most important part of all the bills. Because like we say, once the budget's not in place, everything kind of stops. So that's the most important part of the job, among everything else. Because even though we have offices up here, the community is also our office. I look at you students, you come up here to meet with us. We can actually go down to your classrooms and meet with you too. Yep. Would you like that? And I'm the one that sit down and ask you questions. Oh, okay, that's but yeah, that's also important that things like this, because ideas for bills not only come from us, but from the concerns of the community, even from individuals like yourselves. So, like Representative Attao said, uh, activities like this is also very important and fun because your minds are open, your minds are more curious. When we work with adults, those that understand the issues, they focus on certain issues. Students at your age ask about everything, even for how long we work when we're little kids. So we appreciate this. Anybody else that has not gone? Anybody? Sir, we'll give you back there. Yes. I've been a representative since 2010. Yeah. Anybody else here? Ma'am, go ahead.
When you were small and when you go to school, what's your teacher's name?
In third grade, because you're all third graders, right? God rest her soul. She was a very good teacher. One of my favorites growing up is the late Mrs. Probst. She is the mother of one of our colleagues, our floor leader, Edwin Probst. She was my third grade teacher. Yes.
Ask a question that's not been asked yet. Not the same questions, guys.
Okay, so go ahead and then we'll go to you. You ready? Okay, go ahead.
What is one advice you can give us that will benefit us in the future?
Okay. One of the things that will always be passed down is always to work hard and give your best at everything that you want to do. Set your goals and give it your best. Okay. They always said that the biggest mistake someone can make in their future is not even trying. So, for me, my advice to you is to continue to work hard, study hard, give it your best in whatever goals you set for yourself. Good? Nice. Ready? Okay.
Is it your job hard or easy?
It can be hard and it can be easy. Again, uh, one of our main jobs is to enact laws, introduce bills and pass laws. And sometimes the hard part is trying to move those bills. So, like Representative Attao said, we debate. Sometimes those debates can take a long time. I told the last class that in my first term, I served for 3 years. And one of my bills took more than 2.5 years to become law. And that's just one bill. So that's where it gets difficult. It also gets difficult when you want to do something good for the community and for whatever reason the community goes against it. It can get frustrating, but that's also the hard part. Another hard part, like Representative Attao said, is we represent everyone. Even though if we're elected in the different precincts, we represent the people of the CNMI, and probably the hardest part is trying to make everybody happy, which is even on an individual level, you're going to find that that's difficult. Anybody else? Here, there, go. Go, turtle, go.
Okay. What goals have you achieved in the legislative branch?
The legislative branch, I think to keep it simple, whenever we have an idea for a bill, I think that's the goal, is to make it into law. Um, there were some goals that I had that unfortunately I have not accomplished, and I hope it went through like the Representative Attao said. In my first term, we went through our first government shutdown, which lasted almost a week, and that was very difficult because that time the economy was bad enough. And when Saipan suffers, Tinian and Rhoda suffers harder. Okay, the cost of goods on those islands are a lot more expensive. So, like, say if gas is $5 here, it's probably $8 on Rhoda. Things like that. If a can of soft drink here is 85 cents, it's probably $2 in Rhoda. So things like that. And whenever there's a shutdown and your parents are not working, and money's not moving around, it really makes things hard. They're going to start thinking, we need to cut down on this. How do we pay for power and things like that? So, in terms of goals, I've achieved some goals in terms of bills that I wanted to see become law. But there's also goals that I set that, because it requires a lot of minds. There's 20 minds here, and if you want to move something forward, you need at least 11 people to agree with you. And if they don't, then that's where achieving the goal is hard. Anybody else back here? No? Okay, ma'am, go ahead.
What makes you happy to this job?
Things like this makes me happy, actually. Reaching out to the public to get more information, it makes me happy. Seeing that the public is involved and wanting to know what's going on with their government and their community makes me happy. Even if what they know and they dislike and they come up here and protest, that can be difficult, but it also makes me happy because everybody is engaged, everybody is aware, and everybody is concerned, and everybody wants to make a difference. That's what makes me happy. Yes, ma'am.
I think they're out of relevant questions.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to turn this around just at this moment, just to see if the kids understand what the legislative branch is.
Okay.
Okay, so third graders, what are rules for? Not clear. Keep us safe. Keep
Yeah.
us safe. So what do you think a representative and a senator and the legislature's job is? To make laws. And what are laws for then?
Yeah.
Got it clear? Keep us safe.
To keep you safe. Rules.
Are
Yep.
there for what? Only us? The students? What
Mhm.
are laws for?
To keep the community
To keep the community safe.
safe.
The community, everybody. You're right.
Good job.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So we need laws. What would happen if we don't have laws? Raise your hand.
Chaos.
Chaos.
Yeah. There. Yeah. Chaos.
Definitely. Anyone can
Yeah.
come to my house and just take whatever they want, do whatever they
Yeah.
want. They can easily take my car, and is that fair and nice?
Yeah.
Would you like to live in a community that has no law? No.
Because even,
Yes,
yeah.
we do have laws, and these members sit together and they talk about what's best for the community. How can they agree? Because remember, it's different minds, different opinions, right? So they need to agree on what is best for our community. Gotcha?
Yep. That's
The
what,
representative's job.
yep. That's our job. Yes,
You
ma'am.
know? That's the representative's job.
Keep people safe.
Listen to the word representative. To
We
represent
represent,
us.
yes.
And who's us? The student, the community. You're right. Awesome job.
Yep. Go ahead, ma'am. You had a question?
Was this place your dream job when you were a child?
When I was a child, no. I think some of us, depending on our age, we had different dreams. But what brought me to this job is, like I said, I stumbled upon it. It's based on the work experience I had prior to this that led me to this job. One example I brought up with the last class is that when I was at the Department of Commerce, one of my duties and responsibilities was to provide comments for legislation that come our way. And usually we get a lot, especially when it involves the economy, revenue, and business. So it was through that process that opened up my mind to want to run for office. Yes, sir. Who named the three branches of government? I don't know who named the three branches of government. That goes way back. But the first branch of government is the legislature. So basically, it's in the words. We legislate, meaning we create the law. The executive branch executes the law. And the judicial branch, they clarify the law. Because there are times where a law is in place and you feel that it's not right, you can challenge it, and that's why you go to court. And that's another way where laws can also be created in terms of they can reference the case. Yes, ma'am.
Is there something that has affected you the most?
Something that affected me the most in terms of what we do here in the legislature. Yeah, of course, there are bills that sometimes we don't want to see happen. Repata brought up the casino earlier, and I was, um, when that bill came up, it was a tough decision, but I was against it because I felt that CNMI was not ready yet. Um, but it's here, and it's something we still need to improve on. Um, uh, for the shortest time, for a short period of time, the casino did achieve what it was supposed to do, which was supposed to help the retirees and bring extra funding and revenue to our CNMI. But unfortunately, that was very short lived. I think the goal now, when it comes to that, is to try to be more realistic in the type of casino we would like, maybe a smaller scale, and keep it at that. Okay. Are we good? Are we good on time, teachers? Okay, so maybe 3 more questions and then we'll wrap it up. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead. Make it easy, okay? Yeah.
Would you? What happened if there was a fight here?
What happens if there's a fight here? Actually, we've come close to fights, like physical fights here. But usually we're pretty good about being cordial. Some members would just, like, what they would tell you is if things are going to get escalated to a fight, maybe just walk away and cool off. So, excuse me, some members would just step out. We have our sergeant at arms that are there to break the situation. And of course, if it gets really bad, we can also call for police assistance. Here, ma'am, go ahead.
What do you do for a living?
I do this for a living. I represent all of you, your parents, and the people of the CNMI. Yes, sir. Say that again. If somebody breaks a rule or breaks a law, okay, so it depends on the law. That's why we have police officers, right? If you steal something or you break something or you beat up someone, they can arrest you and you can go to jail. So same here in the house, we have we can create a special ethics committee to look into members that misbehave. But even as lawmakers, we're not above the law. If I'm speeding and the police officer pulls me over, I can get a ticket. Or if I do something like steal or whatever and I get caught, I can go to jail. Yeah. Anybody else back here before we, sir, go ahead. Last question.
When did you apply for this job?
When did I apply for this job? Okay. I applied for this job around early mid part of 2009, and I got the job in January 2010. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So, yes, please, thank you very much. I just want to thank you all for all your good questions and for being well behaved. This opportunity to meet all of you and to speak to all of you, it's the pleasure and honors all ours. And please know that all of you are welcome up here again anytime. So thank you. So since there's a lot of you, we'll organize down here and we'll take the photo from up here. So everybody come around here. You can squat, you can sit, you can stand. Yeah. Some of you that are sitting here can still sit on your chairs, but everybody else maybe from here. Yeah. Yeah.